Hello everybody, welcome to Short Shot Archery. Anthony here, and today I want to talk to you about, should I move my clicker? Now, this video is based around the idea when you're at like a tournament or you're practicing at home, but say you're not working on a particular technique change, or you're not trying to improve something. You're just shooting arrows. Maybe you're practicing shooting some qualification rounds at home, or whatever, something along those lines. If you run into a problem with your form, either you're pulling through your clicker too easily, or you're having a really hard time pulling through your clicker, should you move your clicker forwards or back, or not at all? So in this video, I'm just going to cover all three of those, and just little points that I think of, if I have to make this decision myself. And these points you can then apply to your own shooting and your own life, and then hopefully they can help you make a more educated decision the next time you feel like you need to move your clicker. So before we get into these three points, there's about two things you need to keep in mind, or ask yourself before moving your clicker. The first is, was everything working the end before, and then suddenly you're having a problem this end? Or was everything working well the day before, and then suddenly you're having a problem this day? So if you answer either one of those yes, then the next points are probably going to be beneficial to you. The only other question you should be asking yourself before moving your clicker, or not moving your clicker, is my equipment correct? Is there a problem with something that could be making my my draw longer or shorter, that's equipment based and not like form based, not you, the archer? And then once you figure out, okay, everything's looking good on my bow and arrows and everything like that, now I can go and move on to making this decision if I should move my clicker or not. So the first one, should I move my clicker forward? Now, moving my clicker forward, what does that entitle? What happens when I move my clicker? Well, by moving it forward, you're allowing yourself to click the clicker sooner, because you're technically shortening your draw length. Sure, the length of your arrows aren't changing, but you're moving the clicker, and since you shoot with the clicker, you are technically shortening your draw length. This can have some interesting effects, especially if you proceed to do this daily. So, and what I mean by doing this daily is that if every day you move your clicker, say just like a 1/16 of an inch or less, and you're doing this every day of the week, eventually you're going to move a considerable distance. And that distance is going to cause your arrows to be stiffer, because you're going to be shooting less weight, because you're not drawing the bow back as far as you did in the past. Some other effects of this, you may find yourself pulling through the clicker more if you move your clicker too far forward, which then means you need to move your clicker back in some. So you could be playing a weird game with yourself with that if you decide to move it, especially during a tournament where you don't have time to shoot like practice arrows or something like that, because every arrow is for score. Other than that, here are a few other points that just to keep in mind for reasons why you may have to move your clicker forward. And that would be you're drawing back your bow, and you're just not drawing back all the way. You're staying you're keeping your elbow and your drawing arm here too far forward, and you're not drawing all the way back. So you would need to move your clicker out forward in order to get that to click. Other than that, you may be drawing back all the way, but maybe your shoulder is pushing up, or back and in when you draw back. You're not holding it in that set spot. You're letting your shoulder be lazy, and it's kind of relaxing back, or it's allowing the weight of the bow to push it back. That's also going to give you a hard time to click that clicker, thus making you have to move your clicker out in order for it to click. And last but not least, and this is a very important one, maybe you're just getting tired because you could be practicing for a while, or a lot of people get really excited about going to, say, their first tournament and stuff like that, and they're just going to burn more energy than they're usually used to, because they're excited about this. It's a new experience. Or even if you've been shooting for a long time, that different tournament environment could be making you more tired. You're seeing all these people you haven't seen in a while. They're all your archery friends. This is stuff you just need to keep in the back of your mind and then use it to make the decision that, okay, I do need to move my clicker forward. Next up is moving your clicker backwards, making your draw length essentially longer, because you have to draw further in order to get the clicker to click. Now, the effect this is going to have on your arrow is, if you're doing this daily, even if it's that 1/16 of an inch, if you just keep going back, you're eventually going to be drawing more weight. The bow is going to feel stronger because it is getting stronger because you're drawing back further, and that in itself can lead to other problems. And some of those other problems can be you drawing back and having to set down a lot because you just can't get that clicker to click because you moved it back too far, and that could be a struggle. And then you need to actually move your clicker forward. But again, this could be really inconvenient at a tournament situation, and you could be putting undue stress upon yourself with fiddling with your clicker. And since you're setting down so much because you can't get through your clicker, you're burning energy, and you're going to get tired. And when you get tired, it just makes the struggle that you put yourself into so much harder. Other than that, here's a few reasons why you could be having a problem with clicking too soon. You have to move your clicker back. You could be leaning back in your shot, which is going to make it longer, and it could also take up time for you to get anchored and stuff, and by then your clicker is already clicked. So then naturally you'd be like, oh, okay, I'm just drawing back further. I need to move my clicker, back closer to me. But you're also leaning backwards in your shot, which isn't helping you. You could also be overdrawing your bow. So unlike before, where your drawing arm was too far forwards, this time it's really far back. It's to the point where the shot should have been shot by now. You're eating into where you're expanding. You're using your expansion as more drawing, and it's really going to jam up your shot. You're going to have a hard time actually shooting that shot because the clicker hasn't clicked yet, and you're just going to feel stuck there. Now, some really bad remedies for that, because you're drawing too far and you need to move your clicker forward, but you're not. You're stuck back there, and it's going to cause you to release it's going to be an ugly release, because you're going to end up having to use your fingers. You're going to end up having to relax them, so they're going to come open, and then generally your hand's probably going to come out, and then instinctively it'll probably come back into where you normally release. But it's not going to make for a pretty shot, both in looks, in feel, and probably in the result downrange. These are just some things to keep in mind for both of these, moving your clicker forward or moving your clicker back. Of course, there's probably hundreds of different variables to keep in mind, but hopefully I'm highlighting a few of the more major ones, just so that people can learn from this sooner and then be able to come up with their own idea. Now, let's enter the third ballpark, and that's not moving your clicker at all. And in my experience and my thought process behind this, if you can realize that you don't need to move your clicker at all, I feel like you're really developing your archery, because I feel like at that point you understand your shot process, and you can go and say, okay, I'm having a hard time shooting this shot, or okay, I'm having a hard time, I'm pulling and clicking my clicker too fast, either one. So then you have to, take just a moment and, think about, what are you doing? You got to understand your form at this point, be able to go through the steps of your shot, in your head, and then do it back on the shooting line. Because the odds are, if you're shooting one end and it's great, everything's flowing nice, and then the next end you're getting stuck, you probably changed something form-wise more than anything else, because your equipment should be fairly reliable. But if you change something form-wise and you're having a problem with clicking too soon or holding way too long because you can't get it to click, then you can fix you, and you can fix you pretty easily. And it's just a matter of going through your steps, making sure you're keeping your bow arms set, making sure that you're drawing back, to the correct distance that you've been practicing so hard for, at your local range or whatever. And, just getting back to the basics and focusing on, you, the archer. Of course, I feel like the not moving your clicker is the harder of the two, because honestly, it is easier just to move your clicker forwards and back, and sometimes that is a perfectly viable option. There's no hate against those people that move their clicker. But I feel from my experience, there's a lot more justification for not moving your clicker as long as you understand your shot, and then making that small adjustment in your shot. Maybe your hand was relaxing too much when you got back to your face. Just little things like that, and then it just brings your shot back together, and you're shooting these beautiful groups again, and you're really enjoying the whole process of shooting and not getting frustrated on a little thing such as the clicker. So I really hope this video made a lot of sense and really maybe gave some clarity, especially to new shooters that are trying to handle this monster that's the clicker. It can really be your best friend, and it's really going to help you, make great shots down the line. But yes, knowing what to do when you run into a problem like, should I move my clicker, is something that you definitely need to master. And by mastering it, it's going to really increase your enjoyment of archery. So thank you so much for watching. If anybody has any comments or questions or whatever, leave them down below. I would love to read them, and I'll do my best to answer them. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, happy shooting.